Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Sunday, December 10th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, include my $19 Bank Shop best bet, as well as my all-access season pass in college hoops. You can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Sunday in college basketball. First up, we see an early game between Brown and Providence. This one's going to be 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on CBS Sports Network. Brown's had a tough season so far, 3-8 record, but they played a really tough schedule as well. A lot of true road games. They played true road games against Colgate, New Hampshire, USC, Maine, and their most recent game against Rhode Island, which was an outright W, 67-64. Brown's pretty solid defensively. They're 157th in adjusted defensive efficiency. They're a very good rebounding team, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And I think this is just a game where I just don't know if I trust Providence's offense to score enough to cover this giant number. We saw Providence lose outright to Oklahoma in its last game. That was on the road against a really good team, but it was still a 21-point loss, 72-51. Providence has had a pretty weak schedule for the most part. They've had a couple of step-up games. They fared well against Wisconsin, winning that game at home, lost to Kansas State in overtime at a neutral site, took care of business against Georgia. But like I said, this offense is ranked 101 in adjusted offensive efficiency. It's not getting really good looks. The shot quality is not there. They're turning the ball over. They're not a very good rebounding team on the offensive side. They're not getting to the free throw line much, and they're 216th in three-point shooting, 243rd in free throw shooting. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, and I think points in a game like this are a lot more valuable than, say, if Providence was more of a run-and-gun offense or a fast-paced team. Both of these teams like to slow things down offensively, so I think we're going to see a limit of possessions here, and that should give Brown a good chance to cover this number. Give me the points here with the Brown Bears. Next up, we see Colorado and Miami. This one's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. It's a neutral site game at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, a part of the NABC Brooklyn Showcase. And in a game like this, at a neutral site, I think a real big difference maker can be defense, first of all, but also rebounding. And I think Colorado and Miami, two really lethal offenses. Two great shooting teams. Miami's second in the country in three-point shooting. Colorado's third in the country in perimeter shooting. But Colorado has a big advantage on the boards, where they're top 50 in both offensive and defensive rebounding percentage, and they have a big advantage defensively. They have the much better defensive efficiency numbers. I think they also force tougher shots in general, and I think Miami's defense is going to be a problem at times this year, especially as we get into ACC play. And in a neutral site game, I think that the defense and, like I said, rebounding, Miami's ranked outside the top 200 in offensive and defensive rebounding. Could be a big difference maker here for Colorado. So, yes, Miami's the ranked team. They're in the AP polls. I don't think that matters. I think Colorado matches up really well in this game, and I like them at the neutral site here on the money line. Next up, we see Memphis and Texas A&M. This one's going to be a 4 p.m. Eastern start time. It's also going to be on ESPN2. So right after that Colorado-Miami game, you can watch this one. But this is a true home game for Texas A&M, and I like their chances in this matchup to earn a double-digit win. And I like them to cover the number as well. Memphis is one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the country. They're 318th in defensive rebounding percentage. That's really bad news for going up against Texas A&M, who is not only just an elite offense to begin with. They're top 10 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They get really good shots, some of the best shot quality and offensively in college basketball, but they're also number 2 in college basketball in offensive rebounding percentage. So when they're missing shots, they're getting their rebounds or second chance looks on 46% of those missed shots. They don't turn the ball over much. Texas A&M should be able to score at will here, even though Penny Hardaway's teams are known to be strong defensively. I don't like the matchup defensively for Memphis at all in this game. The question becomes, can Memphis keep up offensively? It's a fast-paced offense, pretty good shooting team. But Texas A&M, I think, is underrated defensively, especially at home here. I think there's a really tough matchup for Memphis, who's not in great form. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games. Yes, those were solid teams in Villanova and Ole Miss, but you also went to overtime against VCU, who I'm not really impressed with to start the year. I think Texas A&M at home gets a nice feel-good win. Give me Texas A&M. I'll lay the points. Next up, we see Michigan and Iowa in the Big Ten. This one's going to be 4:30 Eastern. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. We faded Iowa against Purdue and against Iowa State. Their last 2 games, those were 2 absolute blowouts. Purdue won 87-68. Iowa State won 90-65. But I'm backing the Hawkeyes in this game. They're battle-tested. They played not only those 2 true road games, but also at Creighton earlier in the season. This is a matchup now at home that I think benefits the Hawkeyes, Michigan defensively, I would argue, is just as weak as Iowa is to start the season. Both teams are outside the top 100 in adjusted defensive efficiency. I think Iowa's forcing tougher shots, though, and Michigan offensively is solid, but I think Iowa is stronger. They're 17th in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They don't turn the ball over much. They're a very fast-paced team. I think they're the better shooting team, especially at home. After a couple of bad losses, I think we should see a fired-up Hawkeyes team at home playing a Michigan team they beat at home last year by 9 points. Michigan, I have not liked what I've seen from this team. They've lost 5 of the last 6 games. Yes, it's been a pretty tough schedule, but you could argue that this is actually the toughest game of the season matchup-wise for Michigan. So I don't think it's going to get any easier for the Wolverines. Give me Iowa in this spot as a nice bounce-back win. I'll lay the points with the Hawkeyes. Next up, it's St. John's and Boston College, the final game we're to talk about for Sunday's card of college basketball, also 4:30 Eastern. It's going to be on ESPNU, and this one's also part of that NABC Brooklyn Showcase, so a neutral site game, kinda, at the Barclays Center. I think St. John's is going to have a pretty good attendance in terms of their fans that travel for this one, and should have a kind of an advantage, home court advantage, honestly, for this game. And beyond that, I think St. John's just matches up really well with Boston College. Boston College, I think they've played well. I think they've outperformed or overperformed what we expected from them this season. They're 7-3 this year, have the road win against Vanderbilt, have the nice win against Richmond. But other than that, they haven't really been tested too much this year. When they did play those step-up games, the neutral side against Loyola Chicago and Colorado State, lost both of those games, lost by 12 to Colorado State. We also saw them lose to NC State in their first conference game. In overtime, that was a home game against the Wolfpack. And here in kind of a semi-road game against a really tough Rick Pitino team, it's talented and is on a 4-game win streak, which includes the win over Utah. I just don't think Boston College keeps up offensively. That's the big worry for me. This team's creating pretty good looks. They don't turn the ball over much, but I don't think they're a very good shooting team. They don't get to the free throw line much. They're also struggling to defend the perimeter, and St. John's takes a good amount of threes and makes them at good rate, so I think that could be a problem. I just think St. John's is the better team in this one. I think they also just match up better against Boston College itself. So give me St. John's here. I'll lay the points with the Red Storm. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.